teleport, nuke, loot. This build turns you into a living supernova. It's the fastest clear speed build, and the best part? It's completely budget and beginner friendly. No expensive gear required, just the cheapest trash, and you'll dominate every boss and clear maps in record time. I conducted extensive research and tested as many builds as possible to deliver you the ultimate guide. Part 2, from mechanics that make you nearly immortal to a build idea that grants you infinite stats. Let me share with you my ideas and research. I will explain everything about charms and how useful they are, and how to find the mathematically perfect item with a single click using Path of Building. Let's begin with the infinite stat build. It would be nice if anyone could test it, because we need 2 Kalandra's touch rings.
Power is a matter of perspective.
Both Kalandra's touch rings create a loop by copying each other. That has no real benefit. But with the Ascendancy class Ritualist, which grants a 3rd ring slot, you're now able to use a 3rd ring. Every stat in the 3rd ring gets included in this loop. That creates an infinite stat cycle, if anyone manages to test it. Please share your results in the comments below. Here's the build guide for the build you just saw and the results of my research. Let's kick things off with the budget and beginner-friendly variation. This guide is packed with actionable advice for every situation, the amazing charms that's in the same level like the legendary Headhunter and Mageblood, from PoE 1 before nerfed. That'll let your builds become unstoppable. The build uses the unique charm Beara's Anguish.
They found a crying child tied to a frozen pyre. She was clad in ice, but the village was ash.
Beara's Anguish is a charm when used that ignites all enemies in your presence equal to 500% of your maximum life. That charm can be used with level 32 and gets triggered when you become ignited, making you immune to ignite before taking any damage. To get ignited, we use the effect of Grinning Immolation in the Infernalist Ascendancy. It makes us become ignited when we deal a critical hit. By self-igniting ourselves, we trigger the charm's effect every time. Charms, like flasks, use charges and are refilled the same way. We need infinite charges to trigger the charm every second. That's why we use the unique body armor Pragmatism.
In an endless war against darkness, one must be ever vigilant.
With an audience with the king, you enter the domain of the Ritualist boss, the King in the Mists. The king can drop Pragmatism. An audience with the king can be obtained from Ritualist encounters. Now we can use charms without consuming charges. When we land a critical hit, we become ignited. Then we trigger the charm to create that atomic explosion. That's why we use any Omen Sceptre. It grants the skill Malice, which gives enemies in your presence critical weakness. It's extremely cheap and a basic item. Look for a little spirit like 130 and increased presence area of effect. This lets your atomic explosions cover more range, so you clear the screen completely. Without this item, you do nearly no damage. I tested it. To get more damage, we use the ring Blackflame.
Beyond the veil of death, there burns a fire, by whose light night is born.
The ring Blackflame makes your ignite deal chaos damage instead of fire damage. This has 2 benefits. First, most bosses have no chaos resistances. Here's an overview of all bosses and their resistances. Second, we can use Withered. Withered is a debuff that increases enemies' chaos damage taken by 5%. It stacks up to 10 times. This gives us 50% more damage. We use the Spirit Skill gem, Withering Presence, to create an Withering Aura. And to boost this effect even more, we also use Talent Tree Nodes. Only one charm gets active if its conditions are met. That's why we use the belt Bijouborne.
Trifle not with the Trinket Mage.
Bijouborne reduces charm duration by up to 50%. With this belt, your charm triggers nearly every second. Multiple charms of the same type cannot be activated simultaneously. For example, if you have 3 instances of Beara's Anguish, only the first one in the order will be in effect if it has charges. The others won't activate. A charm's duration is also its cooldown. This means a longer duration equals a longer cooldown. The charm can only be triggered again after its duration has expired. That's why we use the belt Bijouborne, because it let us use charms more often. The best part about charms is they work before the effect takes place. That means if a charm gets activated because it meets its conditions. For example, taking cold damage or being ignited. Its protections like plus 25% cold resistances or immunity to ignite are in effect before the cold damage or ignite even reaches you. That means the charm increases first your resistances, and then the damage is counted. That's why technically Pragmatism might be a much better body armor than it seems at first glance, because of its effect that your charms don't use charges. That means you get plus 25% to each element resistances from 3 charms permanently. That means this body armor has plus 45% to all elemental resistances. However, this isn't everything. The Infernalist Ascendancy has the skill Altered Flesh. This means you always take either fire or chaos damage when you take damage. To benefit most from this, we could use the unique charm Forsaken Bangle.
Among the Templars, a secret few ate the sins of others. They bore this burden to empower their hidden order.
This charm converts half of the chaos damage you take. Over 8 seconds, it gives it back to you as health and mana. However, this charm is a trap and not worth using because it only works once. Then you need to wait until the duration expires. Small hits make this charm completely useless. That's why we use a blue magical charm. Magical charms can have a very good prefix modifier. This prefix modifier grants you up to 500 guard. Guard is a stat in Path of Exile that shields you from damage before everything else. That means not life, not mana, and not even energy shield get touched until your guard is completely gone. It lasts until your charm expires. Meaning, by using 2 charms, one with fire resistance and one with chaos resistance, you guarantee yourself plus 500 guard, which is like 500 life on top of the build, just by using 2 charms. I also tested the talent tree node that makes your charms more effective, and it not only increases resistances, but also makes your guard even higher. Also, because guard gets constantly refreshed, you don't need to heal it back. That's much better than extra life. So if you try to use those charms, never use quantity on it. Otherwise their duration gets longer, and we don't want that. Also, sometimes for certain boss encounters with long stuns, or if you feel you're often stunned in general, you should just use a stun charm with guard. Now to the next topic. I show you the best, most expensive, and most useful charm in Path of Exile. It's the Mageblood Headhunter level of type combination, using the unique charm Rite of Passage.
To become a warrior and a hunter, each young Asmari must prove themselves before the spirit.
This unique charm makes you become possessed by a spirit when you kill a rare or unique enemy. As always, the effect triggers before the kill, meaning the boss gives you more loot and lasts for up to 20 seconds. Here is a list of all the different effects it has. This unique charm cannot be chanced by using the Orb of Chance. In order to teleport with Blink faster to the map, we use the unique shield Crest of Ardura.
When the Red Secum are called, the Ardura were the first to answer.
Crest of Ardura is a unique shield with the effect of up to 50% increased cooldown recovery rate, making it possible to teleport very fast. However, it's also important to get a high-level blink with quantity later, because that reduces the waiting time between teleports more. Also, our Ignite deals chaos damage, and it is not considered a spell or a hit. This means increased fire damage, and spell critical strike chance do not provide any benefits. Every other item slot needs to be used to get all resistances up and as much life as possible. Also, it wouldn't be bad if we focus either on armor or evasion base type to get even more tanky. That is basically the main build and how it works. Let me explain how to level and play the build. First, reach level 52 for the minimum level requirements to wear the unique body armor Pragmatism. And you need to skill Grinning Immolation to get ignited from the Infernalist Ascendancy. Then you are ready to start. I recommend first to play anything you like before switching to the level 52 build, so you have at least 54 skill points and can simply respec with some gold. After many comparisons, I've come to the conclusion that this budget-friendly solution is ideal for beginners. I made something special for you, so you can easily copy my build in Path of Building, and download link for Path of Building and an URL code to load my build is available in the video description. Here is the menu. In the Import-Export Build section, on the top section is the Character Import. In the Character Import section, you can import your own account characters. The Build Sharing section, it's quite self-explaining. There you can create a URL to share your builds or load them yourself. We go for Import and Export Build first to load a build. Let me use my URL from the video description to load our build. The next section are the notes, so you can follow advice. Our first step is to go to the notes section. There you can see and share your notes. I update this URL regularly, so always read first my update notes that I leave. It's regularly updated. After that, check the configuration section. It sounds tricky at first, but it's just for buffs and debuffs. Depending on the build, skill gems, and items you're currently loading, it adjusts itself and giving you more options to choose. That's important because some skills work only with power charges. Also, it includes even quest rewards like resistances. So depending on what you use, you need to activate it. The area with enemy stats might sound intimidating, but it has easy presets to load. There you can choose which kind of enemy you'll encounter in the calculation, like Uber Pinnacle Boss. Then all stats get automatically filled, making it a no-brainer. If you're still unsure, you can find a detailed explanation just by moving your mouse over each area. Next is the talent tree section. Down there, you can load and create different presets of the talent tree. That's important if you want to show people how to skill when they level up. Now I want to show you something amazing. But first, select the main skill on the left side. Right now, I'm using version 0.8, and they didn't include the charm we use as a damage option. However, we can still see how much crit chance we get with the current skill we selected. Now to the amazing part. If you go here and select Show Node Power, it starts becoming slow due to the loading. Then, in the section, we normally use combined DPS, but right now we can use just crit chance. Then go for show power report. See, we've got the perfect list. We select it to show us the best choice. It now shows you how to get the best pathway on your talent tree to get crit. If you hover over any point, you even get a list of all benefits in green and all downsides in red for each skill point. Normally, we use this list with combined DPS, because that includes everything and calculates the best possible path. But in this case, because the charm isn't yet inside the system, we just use the crit chance. Now let's move on to the items section. Like before, you can load different sets. However, you can either use the offered rare templates or unique ones. The best part, it's like the talent tree. You can always list the items by any criteria like combined DPS. If you're currently leveling, you can also use current level, so it removes all unique items you're currently not able to use because of your level. Here on the top, you can change your level. If you want to use an item, you can either double-click or click and drag them into the top. Here, that's your inventory. On the left side, you can see which items you got equipped, including the charms, flasks, and jewels that are used on your skill tree. If you're not sure which jewels are which, just move your mouse over it, and it shows you the correct place. Like I announced in my previous video, I will show you how you can find the mathematically best item for your current build with just one simple click. Then go to the button, trade for these items. There, then to adjust search weights, then to adjust the settings according to your wishes. We'll leave it in the preset. Then you take any of the item slots you use. Now, in this example, we click on Weapon 1 and on Find Best. There you can adjust things like the maximum level requirements. And finally, we confirm with Execute. Then you will receive the direct link to the official Path of Exile site with the best calculated items sorted by weight. You can then go deeper. For example, add a price limit of 1 exalted orb and even add another set for stats like life. More about weight in my previous video. Now to the last place, the section calculations, or better to say results, are just a list of all details about your character. Also, here are your own stats like life and everything else listed. I listed the different gear sets and everything else for you with the URL, so you can just load everything yourself. Not everything I chose is always the best. I just chose this because it gives with the lowest investment the best results. Now, let me explain why we use these skill gems and what they are for. First, we need critical hits for our build to work effectively. That's why I chose to use the skill gem, Ball Lightning, combined with the support gems, Gamble Shot, to achieve critical hits due to the high number of hits. We also use the life tap, so we can still cast it, even if we have no mana left. This is because we use the keystone on the talent tree called Mind Over Matter. This keystone makes our mana protect our life from damage. Then, we use the support gem, Cast on Dodge, and link it with the skill gems, Ball Lightning, and Ember Fusillade. Ember Fusillade has a delayed activation time, so we also link it with the support gems, Scattershot and Impetus Support. This setup allows us to cast these skills when we use the Blink skill. To teleport, we also use the skill, Withering Presence. Once we acquire the unique ring that converts our Ignite fire damage into chaos damage, to defeat bosses faster, I use the Curse, Despair. You could also consider using the Curse skills, Temporal Chain or Enfeeble, if you prefer them. Temporal Chain also extends the duration of all negative effects, like our Ignite, without reducing its damage per second. If you have the skill tree keystone, Whispers of Doom, you can use an additional curse. In Path of Building, you find the different sets and options you can choose. In the end, I have done my best to provide you with everything I can think of. Now, let's talk about jewels. In general, 3 life-based Grand Spectrum jewels would be the best. But we're going for the budget-friendly variation, because the first step is the most important one. Then, if you become rich, you can buy everything. I also experimented using the unique jewel from nothing.
They clawed their way up from the agonizing depths of non-existence, breathing deep with joy the exquisite light of meaning.
This talent tree jewel allows you to allocate skill points within a very small radius around a keystone. That jewel seemed very appealing initially, but ultimately, it's not worth it. Because you not only use up a valuable jewel slot, but you also need to spend additional skill points afterwards to get the desired benefits. This makes this jewel a potential trap. Always try to obtain jewels with the modifier increased present area of effect. This is important, otherwise your skill will not effectively clear the entire screen. The other item slots need to max out your elemental resistances and your life. If possible, go for armor or evasion instead of energy shield. If you get more currency later, focus on chaos resistances as well. And don't forget, your charms give you permanent resistances too. Now we skip the endgame items, which can be easily seen in Path of Building. Now we come to the final part of this video, research and ideas. An interesting idea was to use the unique helmet, Veil of the Night.
The seeds of greatness are planted in darkness, watered by suffering, attended by desperation, and bloom steal flowers of victory.
This helmet grants us a significant increase of 61% to our maximum life. However, it removes all our elemental resistances. My idea was to combine it with the unique body armor, Comb's Heart.
The warrior who fears will fall.
Comb's Heart, which provides a massive bonus of up to plus 1,220 to maximum life in its corrupted version. This would significantly increase our damage, as our build's effectiveness is primarily based on our total life. However, even if we allocate all relevant talent tree nodes and use 3 unique charms of Bera's Anguish, we would not generate enough charges quickly enough to make this build variation work effectively. Perhaps there's a way to make it viable in the future. Also, I tested our Ignite and it doesn't count as a hit. That means mechanics like poison on hit aren't working. Another fantastic mechanic I found absolutely intriguing was with the body armor, Sacrosanctum.
The Twilight Order rejected the gods, choosing instead to put their faith in each other.
This body armor, with its incredible damage taken recouped as life is also recouped as energy shield stat, can make you practically immortal. If you have around 110% life recouped or more, technically if you can't get one-shotted, you get instantly recovered. This body armor is often used by Lich, Chronomancers, and Ritualists. In general, the Ritualist is considered the absolute strongest ascendancy class in Path of Exile, especially if you can snag the nearly impossible to get Kalandra's touch. Right now, a lightning spear build with it has one of the craziest clear speeds in the entire game. That doesn't matter if the cost of the build is so high that we can't play it at all. But hey, our build here is way more fun and costs you next to nothing. Isn't that awesome? The last mechanic I want to talk about involves the new Amazon Ascendancy class with Elemental Infusion. This grants our damage a massive bonus for every charge we trigger, and if we use the unique gloves Hateforge.
The first Bijouborne on the fringes of the Vol Empire developed a blood fever born of corruption.
Hateforge grants us 3 charges when we hit maximum rage. We could potentially use it for a new build. The gloves also reduce our maximum rage limit, meaning we reach maximum rage much faster and, in turn, gain those charges even more frequently. This could absolutely become one of the top-tier mechanics to create an insanely strong build. These gloves drop from the final ultimatum boss, the Trial Master. I also forgot the last item to talk about. It's the Spear, Spire of Ire. That's a tongue twister.
The spear was specially forged to assassinate Fall, but Moligaro never got a chance to use it.
This weapon turns all life leech that recovers physical damage into recovery based on our chaos damage. Using this spear's chaotic infusion skill, along with the Amazon's elemental infusion and Hateforge, could lead to a new build idea. If you like Path of Exile, you're going to love watching my movie trailer on my main channel. Subscribe both of my channels, here right now, and on my main channel, where I create the best movie series. Like and subscribe. It doesn't look like it, but I've now spent over 150 hours on video editing alone, without even playing PoE. Was it worth it? If yes, then subscribe to my channel. Support me on Patreon.
The service is finally over.